digital ads are becoming a lot more difficult with privacy updates in general and a lot of the ad platforms making adjustments. I think that things like direct mail are going to become a lot more popular, which means a lot more investment into those.
Direct mail, at least for today, and the providers that we use like Postpilot, are going to have basically the same two branches that you'll see in an email and SMS platform. You'll have campaigns and you'll have automations and flows. Welcome to another week's episode of the Messenger Mastermind Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Horowitz, and today I'm joined by my incredible co-hosts, Ben Vandal and Marco Ruda. We're going to dive right into how to really structure direct mail to fit in as another great retention channel for you, just like email and SMS has been. So Ben, do you want to kick us off with just how are you all thinking about direct mail? How does it fit into CVG strategy for you guys scaling up right now?
Yeah, direct mail is a great tool for retargeting. I think that's where you should start with it. I think it's the most effective way to kind of fit right into your retargeting strategy. I think there's a lot of great high volume customers. You can segment by specific order values and different priorities. But when you think about a direct mailer, it is something that you send kind of in faith, thinking that it will be opened. Most people do open their mail. Some people just throw it right in the trash, but you will have pretty effective tactics. So I think the strategy around direct mail is really focused on segmenting, right? So you want to pick out a group of customers that may not have purchased from you in a certain duration, or maybe spent over a certain amount of order value. Depends on how specific you want to be, who you want to target. But I think that's the great strategy around direct mail. A way we use it now at CVG, just to hop right into what we do, is people who haven't purchased in the last 60 days and but have purchased in the last 90. That's kind of a valuable segment for us. We know in our purchase data that people should be buying again by then. So we kind of reach out to them with an offer. And then we have a classic win-back campaign, haven't purchased in the last 90 days, but have in the last 120. And we segment that into two different segments of spent over X lifetime or number of orders lifetime. And it's been really successful for us. And it's a different way to stand out from the competition and really hit that retargeting funnel, because through most of your paid advertisements, they've seen a bunch of stuff from you in 90 days, and this is a different way to reach them.
Yeah, and from what I've seen and just experienced so far, and kind of what I'm going to call the new wave of direct mail since probably 2019-ish, 2020, is a very digitally focused retention channel. I kind of just see it as another extension of your CRM. So you had email first. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I really hope you've already layered in SMS to your brand. And then I think this is just three, where it's going to be three independent channels. It works three separate ways, but it's going to use to accomplish the same goal. You're going to have abandoned cart flows in all of them. You're going to have post-purchase flows in all of them. You're going to have customer win-back flows in all of them. And coordinating them together and really thinking through that entire user experience is going to be really key to having a lot of success and making sure that each of them are net new revenue and that they also support each other.
Right. So I don't want to call this is probably isn't the best way to describe it, but I'm going to call it like the last ditch effort. So whereas previously maybe SMS was our last ditch effort, now the way that we look at this is we pretty much go in order of what's our cost, what's our cost, what's our return, and email is the cheapest way to reach someone. SMS is more expensive. So that used to be our last line of defense that we would use to kind of close a purchase or bring somebody back. And now we're just basically adding this direct mailer into the loop of this is going to be our last ditch effort. If we're trying to convert somebody that we have an address for, or if we are trying to bring somebody back, as Ben said, that hasn't purchased for a while, we know that they have product in hand and they know what they've received from us and what they can expect from us. Maybe they just need a little bit of a bump to be brought back. Their inbox is full, their SMS is getting more full by every single day. So a good way to stand out and just to kind of look different from all these digital companies that have really blown up over the last couple of years, going and taking a step backwards and working our way into the mailbox, the actual mailbox, not the email, is looking like a good effort to bring somebody back as the last ditch effort.
Yeah, I think it also gives you kind of a little taste of authority too, right? It gives you a touch of authority. It makes you feel more more robust than you might be. I mean, we're in a digital presence where emails and texts and paid ads can just fly right by, right? This is something real that you can hold on to. That kind of hits you at your house. That is pretty cool. I mean, I can remember we're old enough to remember like JCPenney catalog or the Sears catalog, right? When we were kids, and you'd get in, you'd be like, oh, wow. And you go through and you pick like toys for Christmas. This is similar to that. It's just that additional touch point that is actually physical and gives you a little more authority, and it kind of gets in front of those eyeballs again, which is really cool. And I also like to kind of think about the mail that you receive, right? And how you can make different campaigns around like seasonality of it. Like you could do a Valentine's Day campaign, which is something that you might not want to spend a ton of money on a digital effort around a holiday specifically, but it's a nice little touch. You can pick a small segment, send a Christmas card. You can send a St. Patrick's Day card or something where it's just a different reason to touch that person and say, even happy birthday is another good one. It's something that is kind of cool and just a different way to touch that person that they might have experienced in the past. And it brings it full circle when you touch them with this new media.
Yeah, I mean, holidays is a great excuse, right? We recently sent out Christmas cards. We didn't even attach an offer to it. We just wanted just a straight goodwill. It costs a little bit of money, but at the same time, the cards popped up left and right within our community. So once people received them, I think we sent out a good 3,000 or so, which is a solid amount. We segmented it based off of they had to have purchased in the last year. And we split the list between VIPs and first-time purchasers. So we wanted to basically pay tribute to those that have been really great customers for us and, wish them a happy holidays, and do the same for those that have maybe just made their first purchase around like early Black Friday season, to, again, happy holidays, and try to bring them back. Even though it didn't have the offer attached, it still brought in that value for goodwill, and like I said, made it back into the community. So people really appreciated that. I'd imagine, we ended up on refrigerators or over the fireplace, and once you kind of tape that card up, you're seeing it for a couple of weeks. It's a good reminder of a company that maybe you want to check out again.
Yeah, and I think probably as everybody's listening in, they can start to see the very clear similarities to email and to SMS as well. So I think just give everyone a simple framework. Direct mail, at least for today, and the providers that we use like Postpilot, are going to have basically the same two branches that you'll see in an email and SMS platform. You'll have campaigns and you'll have automations and flows. So do you guys just want to quickly break down, like those are some great campaign ideas. You just want to quickly break down like what are those more direct response money-making flows that are like the program is really built off of?
Yeah, I think I led the episode with one. I think the win-backs are a great one that you can automate. Once a customer hits X number of days that they haven't purchased, it triggers this system. They fall into that segment. We send out a mailer to them with an offer to win them back. I think that's kind of an evergreen one that you can keep on, forever. I think other good ones, just thinking about like what some competitors are doing and how you can do it differently, is maybe a purchase anniversary, depending on your product. It's been 1 year since you first purchased from us. We just want to say thank you. Here's X off. Birthdays, which I touched on too, another good one. They're getting a lot of probably birthday mail as it is as human beings. And I'm sure a lot of companies are sending out birthday emails, but you can be one that stands out from the crowd by sending a birthday piece of mail. I think those super basic to get you started. I think those are low cost and evergreen that would, bring in revenue indefinitely.
Yep. I'm gonna double down on the birthday one just because I think it's that important. I don't have the data just yet on the direct mailer side of birthdays, but just speaking from the email side, I know that those work extremely well. I mean, moving aside the fact that it's evergreen, so like the work is just set and done. they actually convert. And I think the reason why they convert is that customers around their birthday are more likely to have the feeling of that they deserve to treat themselves and make a purchase when maybe different parts of the year they didn't feel that. So at a time where maybe they're receiving gifts and it's maybe not quite what they wanted and they really would like to get what you're offering, if you're able to put that discount code in front of them, you have a really good chance that that will be in front of them if you're sending them a piece of mail versus an email that has, a 70% chance of ending up in a promotions folder. So it's a good way around it. And it's probably going to be one of the better ROAS pieces of mail that you send.
Yeah, I think as far as campaigns go, we touched on holidays. They can be holiday specific campaigns. Depending on the company you have too, I think it would be a cool way to hype a product launch. If you had maybe a secondary version of an item coming out, like you had this customer bought V1, hey, just to let you know, we got V2 coming out. We're super excited about it. Come check it out. So things like that, I think, are good campaigns. It depends on how valuable or how good your segmenting is when sending campaigns in order to do something like this. But understanding it's a real world process of sending it a couple of days in the mail, and then also the customer has to open it and find it and take action. So keeping that in mind when you're making campaigns is going to be super important for you.
Yeah. So for someone who isn't familiar, how long would you say is the work back schedule of we need to design the postcard, we need to have it built, and we need to have it sent out or getting ready to send out to hit our date? So how long is that typical timeline? Is it a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months? How should people be thinking about that if they want to go tactically execute this?
Sure. We work with Postpilot, who has done a great job with us. They have awesome designers in-house, and they turn around things pretty quickly for us. I would say the process of design is under a week, as long as you provide them with some good creative as far as what you want on the card and some of the language. And then going forward, once you have kind of almost a template of what you think the language should say on the card and the layout of the thing, they can do it pretty fast. And then as far as activating and sending the card, again, depends on location of the customer, but they go out in a day or two. It's really just solidifying your segmenting and making sure everything is right. And then as far as taking action, I haven't seen results in the first 7 days usually. It takes a little bit of time. You have to think about the way things go. But that's about the time frame. So I think from thought process to the customer receiving the card, you can get done in under 10 days.
Yeah, I'd like to specifically draw attention to an experience that I had with Postpilot when we sent out those Christmas cards. It was a project that I actually oversaw myself, so I have direct experience with it. And we decided literally last minute that we were going to send these cards. I think it was maybe at best 2 days before the mailing cutoff to reach in time for Christmas. So I hopped into the live chat of Postpilot and I was like, is this possible? I said, I totally understand that it's not. And they were extremely helpful. They built out the card for us in the matter of hours. I didn't have to build it, which was really good. I even had them make some revisions, which they made very quickly. And as soon as I improved the card, I think it was out the same day. And like I said, it was a good 3,000 cards that they designed, printed, and shipped to get out in time to reach people. So that they worked very quickly. The printing and the sending out was very quick. Ben is right, though. It did take a little bit of time before we actually started seeing people posting those cards. So, mail is slow. It doesn't seem to be ever getting any faster. So take that into account. And like Ben said, I don't know if other people are like me, but my mail can sit in my mailbox for 2 weeks before I check it. So take that into consideration for sure, especially on timelines around if you're including a discount code that's going to expire, definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys have mentioned design a couple of times. How much design does a brand actually need to do on the postcard itself versus the tool can do for them?
Yeah, I think that, I don't want to make this like a Postpilot commercial here, but it's what we use, and in my opinion is what the tool that's probably the leader in the space. So I think that I think that they were able to identify that the making of cards was a real big pain point for brands and clients. And I could definitely speak to that day when I needed to turn around a card in one day. If I had to make it myself and go in-house to one of our designers, like that would be asking a lot, especially so close to the holidays. So being able to have them handle pretty much everything for us was pretty useful. I believe they also have some template builders that you can just kind of build out. Jeremy, I think you've kind of played with those in the past. I've even made cards myself, just kind of whipped them up in Photoshop or bought a template. So you have a lot of options, but if I'm going to be honest, I had a good experience with the in-house creation team. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like a lot of the same fundamentals. It sounds like you're tying that a lot to what you guys are already doing in email and SMS. So I guess, like, where does it go from here? Like, what do you guys want to see? What would be nice to unlock? And I can start off for this one, just because I feel like I'm asking you guys a lot of questions. Of like, for me, and it's been interesting, over the holidays, I got, I think, like 5 to 10 catalogs, like true old school, just like Ben was talking about, like D2C, native brands, sending like 20, 30-page catalogs of their whole thing, and they must have bought a list somewhere. And I think just naturally knowing, like studying the history of direct mail, I think that's where it has to go first, is not just be a retention channel and not just be a way to reacquire customers, but especially with everything that's been so difficult to acquire customers now. Like, I think there will be some, if there's someone who can bring the infrastructure costs down of buying lists and doing all the targeting and doing all the sending, like if there's a way to make that more affordable, I think there's a massive opportunity for a lot of brands to use that to acquire new customers. I think there are some like higher, cooler things, but I think for me to see the real viability of the channel, that really needs to be the big thing. So it can go back, it can truly be an acquisition and a retention channel.
Yeah. I think you're right, Jeremy. I think as everybody's starting to find that digital ads are becoming a lot more difficult with Apple's privacy updates and just privacy updates in general, and a lot of the ad platforms making adjustments, I think that things like direct mail are going to become a lot more popular, which means a lot more investment into those. So I'm hoping you're right, and that costs are kind of driven down and different things are improved. But I think I'll probably tee up Ben's suggestion here, because I had a personal experience with this. And I think it would be a good feature request. Was this might even go back over a year ago now. We were pretty early on direct mail, and we ended up actually stopping it at one point, because what we were experiencing was we set up an automation. It was just an evergreen flow, and it had a static discount code in it. And of course, that code, after a certain amount of time, made it onto coupon sites, of which we weren't aware of. We weren't watching them as closely as we should have. We obviously learned from that, but that code got abused hard. I think it was like a 20% off code, and it was just getting picked up by everybody who was just checking out, even though they weren't actually receiving the mailers. And it was making it look like the return on cost was a lot higher than it actually was, because we would have a new product release, and customers that never even saw that piece of mail were able to use that code. So we actually we turned things off based off of that, but I think that probably leads to Ben's future feature request.
Yeah, and I told them that, flat out when we were in talks of this latest campaign, and they did tell me that in the works, they have a dynamic code element that is coming out. So our feature requests are being answered. They're very attentive over there. But that's obviously a no-brainer. I think that's something we can do in text and email, that if this is going to be a viable retention channel that we can set and forget for years to come, I think dynamic codes is the least that they could work on. Something else that they do that's kind of cool is the handwritten notes. They also offer an option for a handwritten note. That's not a postcard, but I'm sure you've gotten them in the mail that look very handwritten. They're super personal. If you were a company that was just starting out, I think that'd be an excellent touch if you can do it in-house, to have it kind of automated here. So maybe something else that they could do is some kind of insert in the mail, that I think would be kind of an old world trick that has been used since the beginning of time, something that looks like it's in the envelope to get people to open that envelope. And I think there's a couple cool things they can do going forward as far as feature requests go with that, with just kind of different packaging and the way your letter might look. And they make it super simple. And that's what we need as marketers, right? I need a simple channel that I can get going. But yeah, like you said, the limitation of needing kind of the customer's address. And if you're an e-com store, I mean, they have to have made a purchase really to do that, unless you're kind of a lead-based, a lead form type of service. But so the prospecting end is going to be tough. And like Jeremy said, I think that's going to take a third party of getting mailing lists a little bit cheaper, but that would be great to have the ability to do.
Yeah. And the really interesting thing, like as we talked about this, is we're using to take all the old school direct mail tactics and all of the best practices, digital marketing stuff that we've become used to. I mean, I remember when we betaed Klaviyo's dynamic discount codes. Like we used to not have that in the email either. And so I think it's so fascinating of like all these basic things. Like I think dynamic products in the postcard of like what they purchased or what they abandoned would be really valuable. The segmentation power, like all of it's really funny how it's just like if we basically just took all the best practices from digital email and all the best practices from old school mail, what like the value of the channel will be. And I think that's why we're probably also bullish on it. Is it's a lot of really familiar things. It's really valuable. It gives us an opportunity to zig when everybody else is zagging. And the returns are really there that are driving the channel forward. So it's really exciting. There's a couple tools out there. We've mentioned Postpilot a couple times because that's what we've used. But it's really valuable. We're really bullish on it. So if you are looking for that additional retention channel, that other way to drive incremental revenue this year, and you are really confident in your email and or SMS stack already, this is a great channel to add in to just continue that growth for another year.
Thanks for listening to another week's episode of the Messenger Mastermind podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with another e-commerce marketer. And always let us know what you think down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you're looking for cutting edge tactics and the resources that we rely on to run our businesses, sign up for our newsletter. We'll include a link down below. As always, stay confident, connect with your customers, and keep crushing it.